Good evening. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our sustainability panel today. Thank you for joining us. I can see we have some participants here, so I think we'll get started now. Hi, I'm Anupa Isaac. I'm one of the admissions advisors for the MIT Executive MBA program. I help candidates navigate the application process, program fit, requirements, and how to present your strongest application. I'm also joined today by Tom. Tom, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. So good to have you here. As Nupa said, my name is Tom Little. I'm marketing coordinator for executive degree programs. I do a lot of content creation and curation for the team, and I'm excited to chat with you today.
So the agenda today is to give you an introduction to the MBA program, an intro to the sustainability at MIT. We do have time kept aside for your questions, but please do feel free to use a Q&A throughout. We'll answer some as we go, and we'll have some to ask our panel too. Let's start with the introduction to the MIT EMBA. MIT, MIT Sloan, and the Executive MBA program are all deeply mission-driven. As part of a world-class research institution, MIT Sloan plays a vital role in turning innovation into real-world organizational capabilities. The mission of MIT Sloan is to develop principled, innovative leaders who improve the world and to generate ideas that advance management practice. Those who apply and enroll in the MIT Executive MBA program are distinct amongst their peers at Sloan because you're already experienced leaders, which is why the mission of the MIT MBA program is empowering and connecting leaders to redefine our shared future. So let's talk a little bit about the EMBA structure. You will learn the same MBA degree as our two-year traditional MBA program. The distinction is in the format and the cohort. The MIT MBA is a 20-month experience where you are on campus 26 weekends, which is every 2 to 3 weeks. Our weekends are Fridays and Saturdays. Additionally, there are also 4 week-long modules spaced every 6 months where you will be here on campus. There will also be an option for a week-long international project that is part of an executive lab course that takes place around mid-March of your final year. This data is pulled from the MIT EMBA class of 2026, but these numbers remain fairly similar year over year. Imagine yourself in a classroom of 126 global executives. The average years of work experience in the room is 17, and the average age in the room is 41. The age range in the recent years has been anywhere from 29 to 68. 65% of the class is traveling from outside of Massachusetts each class weekend to attend in person. 61% of our students hold an advanced degree of some kind, which could be an MD, a law degree, PhD, or master's. 76% are the director level of their organization and above. The one thing that 100% of our admins have in common, though, is that they're employed full-time. Now let's talk about industry representation. Our students come from a wide range of industries, and every class reflects that diversity. The top 4 industries that you see here are the most common industries that we get applications from. The percentages fluctuate every year depending on what's happening in the world and in those industries. You'll also notice that the other category represents a large portion of our class, and that has been very typical and consistent. We have students from all different industries like consumer goods, entertainment, energy, management, manufacturing, nonprofit, transportation, and more. It's important that we have all these unique perspectives represented. Handing over to Tom for the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Nupa. So we're going to transition into sustainability in the MIT EMBA. So So we're going to start with what exactly is sustainability? Sustainability is not just about the environment. Sustainability is the crucial harmony between healthy environments, thriving communities, and ethical businesses and institutions, all working together to create equitable economies that fulfill human needs. Our systems are interconnected, which is why we believe a sustainable planet is also a just planet, one that takes into account our environment in addition to socioeconomic and personal well being, equity, and political activity and engagement. Sustainability is about people and the world we want for ourselves and future generations. And this is all from the MIT Sloan Sustainability Initiative. So, what is the Sloan Sustainability Initiative? Founded in 2006, their mission is to provide the best education, apply academic rigor to real world problems, and empower leaders everywhere to act professionally, personally, so that humans and nature can thrive for generations to come. They support degree coursework, executive education, and research projects. Co-curricular opportunities include weekly sustainability speaker series, sustainability researcher lunches, student clubs and case competitions, and the MIT Sustainability Summit. You can learn more about the Sustainability Initiative at mitsloan.mit.edu/sustainability. Also at Sloan, founded in 2024, so newer, is the MIT Climate Policy Center. It's a powerful resource you'll have access to as an EMBA student. It focuses on rigorous evidence-based analysis of climate, energy, and environmental policy, areas that are increasingly shaping business decisions. What's unique is its interdisciplinary approach, bringing together insights from MIT Sloan, engineering, science, and public policy. This means you're not just learning theory, you're seeing how technical innovation, policy, and markets intersect in real time. The center also offers opportunities to engage directly through briefings, events, collaborations with policymakers and industry leaders as well. For EMBA students, this translates into practical frameworks you can apply immediately, whether you're thinking about strategy, managing risk, or making capital allocation decisions in the context of global climate transition. And another tool that you'll engage with in the MIT EMBA is the En-ROADS Climate Simulation. Developed by MIT Sloan and Climate Interactive, it's a dynamic tool that helps you explore how energy and policy decisions shape global temperature outcomes. What makes En-ROADS especially powerful is its system-based approach. It brings together energy supply and demand, land use, economic growth, carbon pricing, and technological innovation, all within one transparent framework. In real time, you can test different policy levers like carbon pricing, renewable energy adoption, electrification, or methane reduction, and immediately see the projected impact on emissions and global temperature. In the EMBA program, you'll apply En-ROADS during the core course, System Dynamics. And speaking of system dynamics, it's just the start of sustainability within the curriculum. So these courses are in the MIT EMBA schedule that have a sustainability element or the opportunity for a sustainability project. LIM, System Dynamics are core courses that have that element, and you can choose to take macroeconomics in the spring of your second year. The rest of the courses on this list have the possibility of a sustainability project. This option becomes particularly important if you are looking to obtain the sustainability certificate. This is a certificate you can complete requirements for with only taking one course outside of the EMBA weekend schedule. So the requirements for the certificate are as follows. LIM and System Dynamics, which I mentioned are core courses for the EMBA. And then this is the one course outside of the EMBA schedule, which is Sustainable Business Lab or SLab, or taking business strategies for a sustainable future. You also have two elective courses that you can select from a list that includes the following, which is Advanced Applied Macroeconomics, the course I mentioned earlier, that is an elective available in your second spring. And then previously, we have had two courses offered as distance learning opportunities to EMBA students, which are product design and managing a diverse workforce. We cannot guarantee that the same courses will be offered in that format, though. I do want to make that note. Other options are offered during January executive electives, which can change year to year. Past courses include Advanced System Dynamics, which is taught by John Sturman, and Management of Services, which is taught by Zainab Tan. Both of these courses are popular among students and alumni alike. And during January executive electives, you have both populations in the room with you. An MIT EMBA Action Learning Project is also accepted in a course such as Organizations Lab. Um, and you can also use a sustainability project from your Idea Week project or from an Executive Labs project as well. So that was a very brief overview of sustainability at MIT and MIT Sloan. There's so much more to talk about. It's time for your questions. So if you have any questions about sustainability at MIT or for our panelists who I'm about to introduce, feel free to write them in the Q&A function. We will be monitoring those. So any questions you have about the program or sustainability for us or our wonderful panelists, please use that function. So now I'm going to introduce our wonderful panelists, Ian, Satoshi, and Valentina. And why don't we each introduce ourselves, say who you are, just sort of a brief overview of what you do and why you decided to apply to the MIT EMBA. And we'll go in order of the slide. So, Ian, why don't you kick us off?
Hi, yes, my name is Ian Brynjolfsson. I started my career in the semiconductor industry, and I applied to the Executive MBA to really.
We seem to have lost Ian. Um, while he's buffering, Satoshi, why don't you? Oh,
Oh, sorry.
oh, Ian's back. Sorry, Ian. Why don't you continue?
Oh, sorry. So I was in the Executive MBA program in order to switch into the startup space. I'm in my second startup and currently looking at maximizing renewables and batteries in the energy space.
All right. Thanks, Ian. Satoshi.
Hi, my name is Satoshi Maeda. I originally started working for Marubeni in Tokyo. Then, Marubeni is a kind of a private equity trading and investment house. Then, after they invested in a portfolio company, which is called now Microsoft, I came to the US 2013. Then, Microsoft is I'm a now VP of business development to lead growth strategy. Then, the reason why I, chose MIT EMBA program is that, I have been, passionate about the sustainability. Then I wanted to gain the access to the network and knowledge to, make the feasible business idea. Okay. All right.
Thanks, Satoshi. I'm Valentina Videva Dufresne. I was working for a part of what used to be part of Texas Instruments, the Sensors and Controls division, and I was creating ventures in corporate focusing on autonomy, electrification, and IoT. And I had grown in the organization, had spent 20 years across continents, across different functions, and really wanted to get an external perspective on what does ventures look like. And a lot of the focus was energy efficiency. So always had that passion for sustainability. I joined the EMBA, and the definition that Tom shared, it really it just brought so much joy because it was much more than, hey, is something is the carbon emissions lower? It was this broader ecosystem of sustainability. And then Professor Sturman, who came in and spoke at the beginning, and he's really the one that teaches the En-ROADS, has this major sense of urgency and the impact the sustainability has. And then to finalize all of that, my ASLab project was doing the carbon accounting for the Red Sox, which was an epic project. So I currently lead the Zander Group North America with focus on healthy indoor climate, really working on balanced ventilation, so energy recovery, heat recovery, and delivering all of that in highly energy efficient way. So passive house certification and affordable homes.
Thank you, Valentina. And just a reminder to everyone that you can put questions in the Q&A function if you have them. So I'm going to start off with sort of I think it's more of a warm-up question, but feel free to tell me otherwise. So can you think about your time in the EMBA? Is there a time where you feel like something really clicked, whether it was a framework or some sort of teaching in the cohort, something really clicked for you, that sort of an aha moment with a problem that you were having in your role at the time, sustainability related or not?
Uh, I can go. So I'll do one of each, I guess. So in one case, I think I started as an engineer, and I was an engineer when I joined the program, and I had inherited a group of about 300 people. And after managing a relatively small team, I didn't really understand organizational structure and a lot of the details that went into that. It was very tactical and execution focused. And um, going through very early on in the program, there was a lot of time spent on behavioral organizations and a lot of the really psychology behind teams and how to organize. And I was going through a reorg at that exact moment, and I was able to take the class on the weekend and learn about how to structure the organization and completely redid how that 300-person team was organized based on my learnings just from that previous Saturday. And that's a model that continues today. I went from a functional model to a product organized model, and even the tools in which how to roll it out and bring it to the team and get it the buy-in and pushing it through was all basically lined out in that course. And I was able to immediately apply it on Monday. And so it was really amazing from that perspective, and that, just the issues that I'm having at the time really applied. Um, from the sustainability perspective, it was a lot more about really thinking about how to use data and analytics uh, and apply that in a space where um, uh, I could take it and not only create the presentation for people to understand, but also to take it and think about how to think about the complexity of the problem and bring that forward. And so both of those things were the immediate click that I got from the class.
Tom, like I kind of pause when you ask because I'm like every class had a learning. The best part about MIT is that it is action-based learning. And so you go into school over the weekend, you go back to work and you apply what you just learned, right? Anything from operational efficiency. So I had a team. I was running an IoT team, and some of that required aftermarket a tire pressure sensor installation on trucks and trailers. It was like, how do you operationalize that and accelerate the time to do that? And so just using operational theory to go and do that. And I was able to get the team to get below the desired timing. I went back from MIT, and we were just starting the Sensata sustainability reporting. And so I had this chops of like, hey, I just did the Red Sox materiality assessment and the carbon accounting. And we did that really, we did a full framework for the Red Sox. And so all of a sudden, I just had this cred behind, and I helped establish a $4 billion company sustainability reporting, and really worked with our consultants, and they were so impressed with what I knew, and all of that came from this framework that MIT teaches. And what I saw also within our class is that a lot of people rebranded themselves as who they were post MIT. So who they came as, whether they were engineers or scientists, they had this different brand after graduating from the program.
Yeah, I couldn't agree, more with Ian and Valentina. So yeah, we get to know tons of frameworks, but specifically, I still remember that the time at the class of the business strategy for sustainable future. This specific, sustainability class, and then I used the framework to completely shift the strategy at that time we were working on. It worked. It worked pretty well. And it was amazing. It was amazing.
Great. Thank you. So we have a question in the Q&A from Atsushi. Sorry if I am pronouncing your name wrong, but they're pretty much saying that they think one of the distinctive features of MIT and the EMBA is how they teach the science of management and their emphasis on data-driven decisions. So do you have an experience where you were able to apply sort of this lens to in a sustainability context that you might not have otherwise gone that route prior?
I mean, for me, it made easier CapEx decisions, right? Where do you invest? So what do we prioritize as we look at our sustainability framework? And we have done the materiality assessment, kind of thinking through what are the investments we want to make, and what is the ROI on that, and the ROI no longer being just the financial payback, right? So doing the ROI on the CO2, what is our roadmap to that? And that really the framework that we did through MIT helped me drive a lot of those decisions around what do we implement in which site to drive our emissions down.
Yeah, and I would say I actually just used a lot of it recently in trying to write up grant proposals to the Canadian and US government. And one of those aspects is really about doing research and creating that data analytics scorecard for sustainability. Like, what is your carbon footprint? What is your and how does that actually convert? You can actually turn things from CO2 per dollar and actually put it into it. You use a financial framework to make your arguments as well. Yeah, just the data analytics part of this is just amazing and allows you to apply it everywhere, not just from the financial model, but all the way down through
And
through your daily life, really.
100%. And so I'm gonna put this out there as well. There is a business analytics certificate, and I did both of them. And it was very cool because for the Red Sox, we connected their data analytics team and their facilities team to actually continue this journey because they did not talk to each other before. And so it was kind of cool. And we did their program in ours. So my partners for this program were both taking business analytics and sustainability, and it was a great coupling from that perspective.
Yeah, then like Tom introduced, the En-ROADS simulation is amazing. And this is all about the measurement of the impact, right? Then, what amazed me at the moment, the doctor, John Starman, explain how, impact of those, items or like these, like you said, carbon tax affects how much, something like that. It was super helpful, to identify how impactful those strategies. So.
Right. Thank you. So we have a question from Tarashand, and they're asking specifically through an entrepreneurial lens, and asking, if and how you were able to utilize the EMBA network and learnings to kick off your startup. And I guess more broadly, what do you feel the power of the MIT EMBA, MIT Sloan, MIT network really has been to you? Since they're asking specifically about entrepreneurship, why don't we start with Ian here?
Yeah, I mean, it, just to start off, it's crazy how much that at MIT.edu email uh, will open doors. Um, I've tried outreach before, and from a regular corporate email or other, and the open rate goes up by a factor of 3 or 4. So it's pretty impressive the pedigree that you get from the degree. Um, the the people that you are with is one of the greatest resources of actually taking the program, and everybody's pulling for you, not only if it's somebody in your current class, but if it's somebody in an alumni. Um, I've known, for example, I've known Valentina for several years now. There was overlap between us, but we've met up for various different conversations and had great talks. But I think on the biggest side, there's a lot of really great entrepreneurs in the program, and the program does actually kick off a ton. I think MIT has one of the highest rates of entrepreneurship as postgrads that come out. Uh, but it just starts with a great group of people, and then that sort of rolls on. And one of the greatest things that also that MIT has, in addition to those people, is the various entrepreneurship specifically oriented assets that it has in terms of courses, in terms of the different organizations like Sandbox and the Martin Trust Center. It's just I had no idea how startup oriented it was, and the amount of resources you have and access to that. And that was really the biggest eye-opening thing. Was I think somebody early on in our program came in and just had one slide that listed the massive number of different organizations that are within MIT available there to help you to start up anything or make those connections. And in reality, talking to the leaders of those programs, they want to help you and they want to make you successful. They're very interested in adding you as a successful startup to their list, and they'll introduce you to VCs, to people, to advisors, to everybody to help you move along.
Before moving to Satoshi and Valentina, I do want to interject and just say your second module in the program called IDEA, which stands for Innovation Driven Entrepreneurial Advantage, is all about entrepreneurship. You have a hackathon, you're given the opportunity to pitch your own startup ideas, and the MIT EMBA is one of the only executive MBA programs with entrepreneurship baked into the program because yes, it is part of the MIT identity innovation, but also a lot of those skills are applicable even if you are working in the corporate world there. So I guess Valentina, Satoshi, do either of you also have any sort of comments on the network or entrepreneurship?
I mean, as I shared, like I actually joined for entrepreneurship in corporate because it's how do you get this old organization and carve out a space where innovation thrives. So I came to actually learn some of that part, and I loved Idea Week. And as part of that, the cohort is incredible. I mean, I was part of 3 startups, right, during the program, and then remained supporting some of my startup CEOs, if you will, as they continue their progress. And as Ian shared, like we've gotten together so many times and kind of talked through what's happening in the startup world. So I would say that I am definitely a career corporate person. I think I realized that about myself, but I'm very happy supporting my very innovative team. So I think you get a lot of that. That the power of the cohort is incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Ian and Valentina, he thought everything I was thinking. But, in addition to it, I took a E&I, Entrepreneurship and Innovation certificate too. That's why I chose MIT. connecting on sustainability and entrepreneurship, right? Then, the resource you can access is enormous. Like Ian said, the Martin Trust Center is a, amazing place to be connected with. And also like a cohort, the admission team has done a great job. The classmates are so diversified, and then there's no industry you cannot access. If you ask something, you get something for sure, something very important. Then, I still talking to my classmates, even though I graduated in 23, I was chatting with a lot of them actually this week. Uh, you know, uh, Asking some ideas, getting some feedback. So, this network is amazing.
That's very common with our cohorts too. A lot of them keep very active WhatsApp chats after graduation. So I'm sure Ian and Valentina can also attest to there. So we have another question in the chat, this one from Balaji. They're asking for three things you loved about the EMBA, three of the highs, but they're also asking about three things you would do differently. I'm not going to ask you each to do three since there are three of you here. How about we each do one thing you loved about the EMBA and one thing that you might have done differently about your experience? So, since at the top we started with Ian, why don't we go in the reverse order and start with Valentina this time?
So I loved my cohort about the EMBA. I think that, I mean, the program, the professors, everything was amazing. The learning was incredible. What I think remains is the connections you've made, which brings me then to what I regret. So I was semi-local. I live in Attleboro, Massachusetts, 45 minutes south of Boston. And at the beginning of the program, I didn't stay for the evening every time I was there, right? So I'd go on a Saturday morning, I'd go home to my kids, and then go back on Sunday. And I wish that maybe about 3 months into the program, I decided to actually just get a hotel and stay like the rest of the cohort. And that made a huge difference for me. So I wish that I did that upfront. I'd say it's a commitment. It's 20 months. Make the most out of it. Make all the connections. Go to the labs. Explore the MIT ecosystem overall. So the Martin Trust Center, whatever it is that interests you, it is pretty incredible. I was a COVID class, right? So definitely got impacted by that. Didn't matter for us. We all got back together and we took the classes together, and it was just an incredible connection experience.
All right, Satoshi.
Yeah, this could be almost the same, but the people, courses, all the network, those are the amazing things. Then I live in Savannah, Georgia, so I travel, flew up to Boston Thursday night, took classes on Friday, Saturday, and then came home Saturday midnight. So, the time was limited. Then I tried my best, to connect with a lot of people, but, there's always, I could have done more. So.
All right, and Ian.
I'd probably say that the thing that I love the most is probably a little bit dorky, but I love the math and the analytics and really tying that together. They really do look at it as a lot of things in a data-driven way. Now, having said that, I mean, we have plenty of classmates who, came through marketing or came through others that weren't necessarily as data oriented, and they got so much out of it, just as much. The thing that I would say that I wish I had done differently is I wish I had taken advantage of the ecosystem more almost immediately getting there. It probably took until about midway through the summer before I realized that as an MIT student, you can take any class anywhere. You don't pay extra. It's all built into the into the degree that you have. So I was able to take classes over, that happened to be being presented in sort of the computer science side. I was able to take a startups class in the legal side. And there's so many other things that come in that the talks that they give, but also just the other ecosystem, as I mentioned before, like the Sandbox and the Martin Trust Center, all of these things I wish I had just sort of seeked out, basically on day one. Because once you realize that it's there, you almost tend to panic with all the things that you want to try and do in the time that you have left. So, and that's the other thing is, I almost wish it was like 30 months instead of 20. But although my family's happy that it was only 20. Yeah.
All right, so we have a question from Monique. Sorry, before that, I want to go back to something Ian referenced, which was taking courses across campus. As an MIT EMBA student, you do have access to taking courses at MIT Sloan or at MIT, and you can also cross-register at Harvard. Just note that you have to be able to attend those courses in person, as they are not made for the EMBA schedule, and they are not offered largely, they are not offered virtually as well. So that's just a little caveat there. But also talking about the ecosystem, in Monique's question is asking, your executives, mid-career leaders coming into the program, so your schedules are packed. Can you share any tips on, once you did take advantage of the ecosystem, sort of how you were able to time-wise, resource-wise?
A lot of negotiations with my husband and just telling my boss that I have school. So for me, it was more, again, saying that, hey, it's 20 months was really important. As I shared, I did the two certificates. Like Ian, I'm an engineer, right? I'm happily geek. I was happy to program in R. It was just pretty exciting to get back to school. I love this whole thing of taking the classes and learning more. And there was definitely so much you could do. And for me, it was prioritizing around the spaces that I wanted to do. And it was more negotiating and making it clear with my work, which I did upfront. And I think that's really an important topic for you as you think about this, is do we have a manager who's supportive of this? Do you have an organization that's supportive? Mine was, very lucky for that. And then your family, right? So do you have the support structure, your friends, your family, whoever it is, around what needs to happen? Because you are carving out, it is time. It's time so well spent. It's paid back for me million times over.
Yeah, and I just add to some extent, if you don't have a boss or an ecosystem that supports you, you may want to maybe you're not in the right place, because this program not only improves your life, but it improves your organization as well.
Exactly.
Something I do want to touch on as well. Both Valentina and Ian referenced having a supportive supervisor. One of the requirements for the application is a letter of organizational support, whether that comes from your manager or someone else in the organization who can sponsor the time you're going to be away. Because, as Anupa mentioned earlier, it is 26 weekends over, or 20 months. It's a significant amount of time. So if you do not have that support, then you are not going to have the easiest time completing this rigorous program. So we're getting close to time. Thank you all for your questions in the chat. I like to end all of our events, all of our panels, by asking our wonderful panelists, what is one piece of advice you have for anyone on this call who is thinking about applying for the MIT EMBA? And why don't we start with Satoshi this time?
Sure. You know, you might be probably like overwhelmed about a lot of the requirements, but if you're passionate about sustainability or entrepreneurship, whatever you are in, I think I highly recommend, and you wouldn't regret it. The community is very supportive. Then if you get like you know, a lot of stuff, that's life, right? But everybody's gonna be supportive. Then you get I get the lifelong friendships, which matters me the most. So uh, I'm super. I have been very, very happy that I took this course. Okay.
All right. Valentina.
I am a better person, a better leader, a better everything. I'm a better wife, better mother, right? Because of the program. And so I'd say if you're thinking, is this the right time? I have too much work, my kids are young, or my kids are whatever the topic is, it's never going to be the perfect time. Just do it. I can't imagine regretting the experience.
Thank you. And Ian.
Yeah, I'm going to try and actually tie my answer into the two in the chat, which I think the other two have done a little bit here. You're ready today. If I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do when I entered the program, and it became extremely clear. It is helpful from somebody who's already in a complicated position that needs answers immediately. If you don't know that you need these answers, it's amazing to be able to come and reference your knowledge and notes. You have access to everything. I still go into Canvas every once in a while and pull out some of my notes to try and say, what was that strategic structure that I learned back from Professor Azoulay in the past? So, your future self will appreciate it. The other thing that I think I alluded to is to one of the things that I had done differently is, you know, really taking advantage of the ecosystem early on. And one of the cool things is, MIT is 7 days a week. There's things going on when you're there. There's things going on the evenings that you're there. There's things going on earlier in the week. And I am local. I am in Massachusetts, so I was able to come in earlier in the week. Now, granted, I was working, so sometimes I had to negotiate or come in after work or things along those lines. But, I was able to take one of those classes live. And I just, uh, worked from Cambridge, WFC, for some of those days, and especially now with the ability to work from almost anywhere with the way it's built, it's very easy to come in and they've got places that you can sit and work and come in and then attend your class and then either drive home or there's a lot of different options there. So, really take advantage of the ecosystem. That's the biggest thing.
All right. Ian, Satoshi, Valentina, thank you so much. It's always great to talk to our alumni and hear their stories. You all can share a lot more about the program from sort of the front lines than we on the program team can. So we're really appreciative of all you can do. And now, really quickly, I'm going to toss it back over to Anupa, who's going to take care of a little bit of house cleaning for us.
Thank you, Tom. We have 2 more application deadlines coming up with our final deadline on May 7th. We do accept late applications till June 1st, but I highly recommend applying in the earlier rounds if possible. The deadlines for each of the rounds are at 11:59 p.m. We have the QR code here that'll take you to your application page. Feel free to scan it. We have 2 virtual events and 1 in-person event coming up. The Program Insights event is a hybrid event, and you can register for all these events on our website. Again, we have a QR code here that'll take you to the events page on our website. Thank you so much for joining us for the webinar today. We invite you to visit our website to learn more about the MIT Executive MBA, the admissions process, and our students' experience in the program. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out by emailing us at mitemba@mit.edu. Have a great night.